hello and welcome to Business Break on East Texas Now. We are joined once again by Shannon Frenzen and Coleman Fitzgerald here from the Greater Tyler Association of Realtors. Once again, guys, thanks so much for coming back to the couch.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, let's jump right on in. For those of us that haven't seen our previous business breaks, let's get a quick overview of what GTAR does and the types of memberships that are offered.
Yes, GTAR is our local realtor association. It's member-led, member-driven, offers all sorts of support for our agents, their technology, their super key access, all those things. And it also has other type of memberships like our affiliate members.
Okay, so what role do your affiliate members play over at GTAR?
I think the biggest thing that affiliate members do is they add to the value of our association. It's not just a bunch of realtors up there. You know, we have whether it's appraisers or roofers or inspectors or lenders or whoever they may be, we all kind of come together to try to improve the association and make it better.
Now, in previous business breaks, we have talked a lot about the process of buying and selling houses. So today, let's kind of dive in about the overall benefits of owning a home. So let's say that you've already been living in your house for a while, right? Can you break down maybe the specifics of equity for us? What is the definition of equity?
Well, the definition of equity is basically the value of the property minus what you still owe on the property. So let's say you owed $100,000 and now the house is worth $200,000. That additional $100,000 is your equity, and you can use that to do, you can do home equity loans for improvements. You know, that's your money to move up or just your long-term saved equity.
Would that be fair to say then that paying your mortgage is kind of like a forced savings account?
I really prefer to think of it as a long-term investment account. You know, you're paying over a long term, that property is appreciating, you're building equity.
Now, you used a buzzword there, appreciating, another term that we hear a lot. So how does appreciation differ from equity? What's the difference between the two?
Okay, like Shannon said, your equity is what the market determines your house is worth minus what you owe. So like she said, if it's your house is market value $200,000, you owe 100,000 would be your equity. Appreciation is, in theory, if it's well maintained, your house should appreciate over time. That overall value of the home should appreciate in value. So that 200,000, for instance, next year could be 220, whatever it may be that the markets dictate.
Right. Again, you said should appreciate. So, of course, owners directly influence that appreciation with things like customization and upgrades. So do those upgrades end up being more of a long-term investment than we might think?
I absolutely say so, yes. Especially if it's there's minor ones too, but especially if you're getting into upgrades like the big ones, like getting rid of that old shag carpet, putting in hardwoods, maybe the old Formica that's not so pretty, replacing it with granite, a roof, anything like that. The big ones, they absolutely can increase and will increase that property's value over time, for sure.
Makes sense. All right, now it is an election year, and one of the big issues for candidates has been property taxes, which obviously no one really loves. But are there advantages, tax advantages specifically to owning a home?
Yes, absolutely. Nobody likes to pay taxes, right? But of course there are benefits, and of course as a homeowner you can apply for your homestead exemption to actually reduce those property taxes. But the property taxes are also deductible on your income taxes. Property taxes and that mortgage interest are both deductions.
Okay, so let's now talk about inflation. It's been a big problem for a whole lot of people lately.
Yes.
So how does home ownership play into inflation?
Yeah, we all inflation continues to happen, and yes, and that has driven rates up some. However, if you look at owning a home, let's say you're waiting for those rates to go down. I'm going to wait for the rate to go down. Okay, that house also just went up at approximately 7% per year over the last decade. So you wait 3 years to save money and wait for a rate to go down, you've really you've missed the point. Because the rate of inflation versus the rate of that appreciation on the home, it's better to buy now. It's like somebody says, when should you plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Today.
Right.
It's the same thing on a house. You know, great, if I'd bought it 20 years ago, I'd have all that appreciation already. The next best time is right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that metaphor. It makes it easier to connect for me. So I feel like we've broken down the finance aspect of it. fairly thoroughly. So finances aside, are there any psychological benefits to owning a home?
I'd say, yeah, there are psychological
Absolutely.
benefits. I mean, it's kind of cliche and kind of hunky-dory here, but I mean, it's part of the American dream, you know? I mean, it's a real good feeling, for lack of a better term, to know that you own that home and you actually have the chance to make that a home for you and your family. And that's a pretty big deal, having that stable feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in the process of moving, when you're between, you know, my family went from an apartment to a house, but we had a couple months there in between, and you don't really realize how much it plays psychologically into your well-being and your mental health until you're finally settled and can take that deep breath and you're saying, oh, I didn't realize how big of a deal that really is for your mental health and your overall well-being. Okay, so if we take all of these things into consideration, is it safe to say that these benefits aren't just for me as a homeowner, but also extend down to my kids, even possibly their kids? Is there a generational wealth when it comes to home ownership?
Absolutely. Home ownership is the #1 way to start building that generational wealth. You've bought that home, you've paid it, or you use that equity to start a business for your family, or you use that equity to maybe help a child go to college, and then they've moved on, and it's just that stable base that helps you build that wealth. Maybe you leave it to them, you know, in your will, and they're able to sell that home, live in that home. Maybe they sell that house and it's worth enough to buy 3 houses at that point. You don't know, you know, how that value increases and how it's going to change your family for generations to come.
Man, sounds like a single decision here could affect everyone that comes from you forward. All right, well, Shannon Franzen and Coleman Fitzgerald, once again, thank you both so much for joining us here on Business Break. We'll be right back with more East Texas Now after this.